Part 29. Adorable Baby, The Miracle Doctor is So Awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 281. Du Li was immersed in the joy of recognizing her daughter. She didn't see anything wrong and nodded, "Go and do your work. Don't worry about us." Shen Yizi quickly came to the Qinglan River, took out his water beads and stepped into the river. A moment later, she arrived near an island in the center of the river. The connection between Yu Chang and Zioa and her was severed here. Shen Yizi came out of the water and walked around the island with his consciousness, but found nothing unusual. But the strangest thing is that there is no abnormality. If this was just an ordinary island, how could Yi Chang and Xiao Wa get trapped here? Shen Yizi stepped onto the island and walked in carefully step by step. There was a sudden pull from behind, and she attacked with her backhand. "Zhizi, it's me," Gu Switting's voice rang in his ears. Shen Yizi hurriedly relieved himself, surprised and confused. "Why are you here?" "I received news from my subordinates that there are traces of Shuanglinzi on this small island." "Why is it said to be haunted?" "Because Shuanglinzi is a kind of Ganoderma that looks like a unicorn and has a child inside its belly. It has legs, can run, and has certain intelligence. Once it senses a threat, it will hide. Shuanglinzi is the medicine used to refine the soul cleansing pill." Shen Yizi had previously asked Gu Switting to help search, but he didn't say what he was going to do. "Then have you seen Yi Chang and Xiao Wa?" she asked. "I was about to tell you that they were chased by a dragon and fled to the island, but Yi Chang was injured a bit seriously, so I placed them in a cave. I will take you there." Gu Switting led Shen Yizi toward the cave. "Gu Switting, Pei Yuan, how did you handle it?" Gu Switting didn't hide the fact that Pei Yuan took her jade pendant and pretended to be the daughter of the head of the Pei family, but she didn't know what happened next. "I sent someone to inform the Pei family. Now, Pei Yuan has been sent to a villa. The next step is to die of illness." Shen Yizi was silent. Gu Switting stopped and gently stroked her face with the back of his hand. "Can't bear it. I thought you would leave her to me." Shen Yizi stared straight into his eyes with inquiry. Gu Switting didn't seem to notice, and smiled indulgently. "I didn't think carefully. I will send a message back when I get out of here." Arrive. Unknowingly, the two of them had arrived in front of a cave. "Shen Yizi, come in quickly, I can't do it anymore." The contact between Shen Yizi and Yi Chang was restored again. She walked towards the cave, but suddenly an alarm bell rang in her heart. Something is wrong. She stopped and turned to look at Gu Switting. "Do you feel anything is wrong?" Is there any?" Shen Yizi suddenly asked him a question. "What time is it now?" Gu Switting was stunned for a moment and looked at the watch on his hand. "Now." He suddenly got stuck. "Can't you convert it?" Shen Yizi suddenly got angry and stabbed him with a dagger. The moment the dagger was inserted into his body, Gu Switting's entire body turned into a phantom and disappeared. At the same time, the surrounding scene has also undergone tremendous changes. "Are there any caves in front of you?" "It's clearly a huge mouth." It was a giant clam, as big as a room. When it was opened whole, it could swallow several of her without any problem. Everything she had experienced before was probably because of the weirdness of this thing. If she hadn't seen through the illusion it created and plunged headlong into the cave, and it would have closed the hard clam shell again, she would have been swallowed up without even realizing it. But it can only use this method. Once the illusion is seen through, what else can this big man do except close the clamshell and hide himself? She may not be able to defeat it from the inside, but now that she's outside, she still can't break through its defenses. He actually transformed into Gu Switting to confuse her? Shen Yizi expressed that he was very angry. She opened her hand, and a delicate and compact mini hammer appeared in her palm. It was the token that Wan Kantang gave her last time. Later, she tried to identify the owner of the hammer with blood. She originally gave it a try, but she didn't expect it to succeed. Then she learned that the hammer was called the star-shattering hammer. Shattered star, this name is domineering enough, and in fact, its former reputation was indeed worthy of this name, but it later suffered a heavy blow and had to fall into a deep sleep. The power is greatly reduced. After being warmed up in space for a while, it has now regained some of its former power. Isn't that a trivial matter to deal with the clam spirit in front of me? Shen Yizi took a hammer and knocked it in his hand, looking coldly at the giant clam in front of him. Spit out my two contracted beasts, or I will break your shell and dig out your meat, a feast of clams. The giant clam closed its shell tightly without any reaction. Very good, you have to resist, right? With a thought in Shen Yizi's mind, the star-breaker hammer in his hand suddenly grew in size and was as long as an arm. She picked up the hammer and hit the clam shell hard. Click, with this click, a crack appeared on the clam shell. Stop knocking. Can't I just let them go? The Mirage was originally very confident in its own defense, but she didn't know that the shell would crack with just one blow of her hammer. If she continued to knock it, he would definitely suffer. It had to admit defeat. Poof. Yi Chang was spat out. Where are the other two? Could it have already digested the little frog and the carp spirit? The Mirage was angry and aggrieved. Where are the other two? There is only this one. You came before I could eat it? Shen Yizi guessed that the two little frogs were probably taken into the space in his belly by Yi Chang, so he didn't pursue it further. Seeing that all the parts on his body were not missing, but that he had fainted, he felt relieved and took him into the space. As for the clam essence, feeling her gaze as if looking at food, the Mirage gave in and shouted, "Fairy, spare your life. Please let the little one go, the little one will be rewarded." The clam shell immediately spit out a black pearl as big as a fist. Shen Yizi, humph, I'm begging for mercy now, it's too late. There were piles of corpses all around, which showed that this giant clam ate a lot of people and animals. It was not because of these people that she was condemning the giant clam. People can eat clams, and clams can naturally eat people. The weak eat the strong. There is nothing to say about this. If she failed to see through the illusion today and fell into the hands of the giant clam, she would have no choice but to consider herself unlucky. But now it was the giant clam that fell into her hands, so it could only blame its own lack of strength. Bang, bang, bang. Shen Yizi knocked the shell on the giant clam to pieces. Don't eat me, I gave birth to many pearls, all for you, the giant clam said with a strong desire to survive. In order to survive, it did not dare to be stingy anymore and squeezed out all the pearls it had hidden from its flesh. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 282. In an instant, piles of pearls appeared in front of Shen Yizi's eyes. The largest one was as big as a bathtub. The small one is as big as the black pearl just now. Colors include gold, white, pink, blue, red, black, colorful, round, and moist, full of pearl scent luster. As a woman, I guess she can't resist the charm of jewelry. Shen Yizi is no exception. Although she is not obsessed, she always likes to look at beautiful things more often. She collected the pile of pearls into the space without hesitation. Making it into jewelry, grinding it into pearl powder, and using it as medicine, all the various functions of pearls were running through her mind in an instant. Pearls are rich in minerals and various amino acids and are very powerful. Taking it orally can enhance immunity, supplement calcium, maintain youthfulness and delay aging, improve sleep, treat ulcers, nourish the liver and improve eyesight, assist in lowering blood pressure, etc. In short, there are many benefits. Shen Yizi kicked the giant clam. What else? The giant clam spit out another pile of pearls in frustration, but this time they were much smaller. There was also a pile of jade, gold, and silver mixed in it, probably from those who had been swallowed by it. Shenyazi continued to kick, spit it out all at once, don't waste time, or I will dig out your flesh and conduct a thorough inspection. Giant clam. This woman is so cruel. But what else can it do? After forcing out the last pearl, which was its own mirage, the giant clam was completely gone. It was paralyzed like a puddle of dead flesh, giving off an aura of hopelessness. That mirage bead is only the size of a table tennis ball, pink and translucent, with a dreamy halo. Compared with it, the previous pearls pale in color. Shenyazi picked it up and said, "Is this bead your inner elixir?" Mirage, yes. Now that this bead is gone, it can be said that its vitality is severely damaged, and it is no longer able to create illusions. But in order to survive, it still struggled to sell itself to Shenyazi. "Don't kill me, I can help you give birth to pearls." Shenyazi rubbed his chin, "It sounds good, but I also know the whereabouts of a treasure. It's because of that treasure that I can live till now and still have my intelligence. Tell me and spare your life." After a moment, Shenyazi's expression became empty. The treasure the giant clam talked about turned out to be the island at her feet. It is said to be a small island, but that is only relative to the land. In fact, the area is still quite large, equivalent to 7 or 8 jiazhuang. But now the giant clam told her that in fact, the entire island is a magic weapon. "Excuse me." Shenyazi found a weak spot, pulled away all the soil on it, and found that there was indeed a magic weapon engraved with runes underneath. There is still a faint aura left on it. So now the question is, how is she going to put this magic weapon away? Try to identify the master with a drop of blood. There is no other way to think of it. Shenyazi did it as he said, dripping a drop of blood. The blood is submerged in the runes and absorbed by the magic weapon. It's done. Shenyazi couldn't help but wonder if she had some kind of strange bloodline. Otherwise, why would she be able to deal with any magic weapon with just a drop of blood, no matter how it came to her? After she recognized the owner through a drop of blood, she established a subtle connection with the magic weapon and received a message. This magic weapon is called Tempering the Sun. It is an auxiliary magic weapon that combines defense and tempering and flight. Defense and flight are both easy to understand. As for tempering, to give a simple example, if she throws a piece of inferior jadeite full of impurities into it and waits for it to be tempered, what comes out will be a piece of high-quality jadeite. If used in refining weapons, it would be a magical weapon. With this, the weapon refining master can definitely improve the efficiency of the weapon refining by a large margin. After all, most of the time when refining weapons is actually spent on tempering materials. In addition, it can also refine and extract the essence of medicine. If you put a piece of ginseng in, what comes out is ginseng essence, which can be taken directly. This function is also very effective when used in alchemy. In short, anything can be thrown in and tempered to extract the essence. Didn't you see that its name is Quenri? Tempering the sun, even the sun can temper it. Is there anything in this world that it cannot temper? Of course, only for dead things. Shenyazi said to the mirage, "Now I'll give you a chance to survive by doing meritorious service. Didn't you say that you will give birth to pearls? Then you will hand in a batch of pearls every 3 months. If you complete it well, not only will I not, it will touch you and reward you." Mirage clam, "Thank you, fairy, for sparing my life. I will definitely do a good job, little one." Shenyazi returned the mirage bead to it and put it into the lake of space. Originally, the mirage clam was a little worried. It had to hand in a batch of pearls every 3 months. Even if it was a clam essence, it would be very difficult to complete it. However, after entering the space and feeling the rich spiritual energy here, it was not at all sad. If the outside world had such a strong aura, it would have seized the time to hide and practice in peace. Why bother to create an illusion to eat people? Do you really think it likes to eat people that much? Shen Yizi attached a floating talisman to his body, which allowed him to stay in the air for a short time. With a move of her hand, the island below quickly shrank and flew towards her palm. The island was no longer there, and a violent whirlpool instantly formed where it originally stood, sucking everything in the surrounding waters hundreds of meters into it. Shen Yizi was in mid-air. Although he was not affected, looking at such a large whirlpool, he couldn't help but feel a little numb. He was worried that he would be dragged in accidentally. So as soon as the quenching sun was obtained, she immediately entered the space. Sitting under the peach blossom tree, Shen Yizi only had time to look carefully at the magical weapon in his hand. It was covered with mud, and you couldn't tell what shape it was. As soon as she performed the cleaning spell, the instrument became spotless. Just, why is the shape of this magical instrument a bowl? The material looks like bronze, with a green patina already appearing on it, with mottled marks all over it, which is really a sign of vicissitudes of life. Also, the majestic artifact was forced to stay in the river, exposed to the wind and rain every day. In the end, it no longer looked like an artifact, but became an inconspicuous island, and was destroyed by a clam spirit. Can it be treated as a nest without the vicissitudes of life? But its function should still be intact, right? The mirage just spit out a pile of gold, silver, and jade. Shen Yizi picked out a piece of white jade that was not that outstanding and put it into the sun-quenching bowl. 1 second, 2 seconds, a few minutes passed, and there was no movement at all in the bowl. Is it the wrong way to use it? But this is how the information it sent previously was handled. Or is it that this sun-quenching bowl has been out of service for so many years and needs to be restarted? Shen Yizi dropped a few drops of spiritual spring into the bowl. Almost as soon as the drops were put in, the sun-quenching bowl couldn't wait to it up, and then sent her a message of hungry, thirsty, and more. Since the sun-quenching bowl was so useful, Shen Yizi decided to satisfy it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 283. Shen Yizi felt a little distressed after dripping nearly half of the bowl of spiritual spring into it. Only then will the sun-quenching bowl be satisfied. When she threw the piece of white jade into it again, the sun-quenching bowl swallowed it up, and in a moment spit out a piece of jade that was several times smaller but whose quality had improved by several grades. It is crystal clear and moist without any impurities, so it can be called flawless white jade. The come-to-life sun-tempering bowl began to consciously absorb the surrounding spiritual energy to replenish itself and supply the needs for tempering, without the need for Shen Yizi to feed it separately. She tested it with pearls, silver ingots, purple gold ore, etc., and the results proved that impurities will be basically removed from anything that has been quenched in the quenching bowl, and the quality will be perfect. For example, the fist-sized black pearl looks round, but is actually not a regular round. But after it is put into the quenching bowl and taken out, it becomes a standard sphere, which is as round as possible, and its color becomes more pure. Even, the luster is more attractive. Of course, the price is that it becomes smaller several times. Profoundly proves the saying that what is concentrated is the essence. At this time, Yu Chain woke up. Finding that he was in space, he was still a little confused. I wasn't in, just now. What are you doing? Shen Yizi's cool voice came from above his head. Are you having a sweet dream? Your saliva is drooling. Yu Chain Sanzan laughed dryly, remembering what happened before. Shen Yizi asked and found that his experience was similar to what Gu Swiding told in the previous fantasy. So, how did you provoke that dragon? The dragon is a monster that looks like a crocodile. It is a veritable underwater killer. From the fact that the three Yu Chains were chased by it and fled in embarrassment, it can be seen that this dragon is very powerful. Chaijin said that there are many good things hidden in the cave of the dragon. I thought the three of us could defeat it no matter what we did together, right? So I took Chaijin and Zio there. It was pretty cool at first. It went well, but the dragon suddenly woke up. I thought I already had the treasure, so I didn't bother to struggle with it anymore. Under Shen Yizi's teasing gaze, Yi Chang's voice became softer. Okay, I admit, I underestimated the strength of that dragon. Its skin is as hard as anything. The attacks of me and the little frog fell on it, and it couldn't even break the skin. The red brocade is even more, don't mention it, it was almost eaten by the falcon before, so I didn't dare to confront him, so I simply ran away with them. Who knew that I would fall into a dreamland when I entered the island? The most important thing is that the illusion was seamless, and he didn't notice anything was wrong at all. If the Mirage hadn't dedicated the Mirage Pearl to Shen Yizi, he would still be dreaming in the Mirage's belly right now. Shen Yizi pointed at the huge clam at the bottom of the lake. Well, it is the culprit that caused you to fall into the illusion. It is still guilty. Please help me keep an eye on it. Easy to say. Yu Chain looked at the Mirage, but he was secretly making up his mind. He originally regretted that he had not finished experiencing the illusion, but now that the Mirage has been brought in, wouldn't he be able to experience it however he wants in the future? And there's no danger at all, isn't it wonderful? Just as I was having a beautiful thought, I was suddenly hit on the head. Where are Zio and Chaijin? Oh, they're in my stomach, I'll spit them out right now. The space inside the abdomen is an innate skill unique to the sky-swallowing python clan. It can hold living creatures. When he was escaping earlier, Yi Chang thought these two were running slowly, so he swallowed them in his stomach. The two little frogs were spit out together with a bunch of treasures. Not to mention all kinds of gold, silver, jewelry, antiques and jade. There are also a bunch of Tianxin stones in there. Tianxin stone is also called a living ore, because weapons made with it can absorb attacks. When the strength of the attack exceeds its absorption limit, the weapon can slowly recover even if it is destroyed. Therefore, the Tianxin stone is extremely precious and ranks high among the treasures of heaven, materials, and earth. A piece the size of a fingernail can often be sold for a sky-high price. However, at this moment, the Tianxin stones in front of Shen Yizi were piled up into a mountain. She couldn't help but pick up a piece and rub it. You got this Tianxin stone from the dragon, right? Qi Jin rushed to express, yes, master. The cave where the evil dragon lives is a Tianxin stone mine. What we got is just what it scraped off. The real good products are all in its cave. What if the master still needs it, I can take him there right away. Did you rub it off? Shen Yizi immediately threw the Tianxin stone in his hand to the ground. She washed her hands and wiped them carefully. No, these are enough for now. You three have made great achievements this time, and I will reward each of you with a drop of spiritual spring and a spiritual beast pill. Yu Chang and Zioa both acted very calmly, but Chaijin, as the newcomer, couldn't remain calm. Boss has long said that following the master will bring great benefits, but he didn't expect it to be realized so quickly. When a drop of the spiritual spring went down, Qi Jin felt that he had reached the peak of Yusheng in an instant. Even if I go to Leap Dragon Gate immediately, it might be, well, it's still a bit difficult. Shen Yizi watched it running back and forth in the water like an epilepsy, holding his forehead and sighing. Why is it that none of the beasts she collected are normal? Putting this question aside, Shen Yizi called Xiaoxi and asked her to sort the pile of treasures in front of her into categories and put them into the warehouse. The Tianxin stone remained. She put a piece in the sun-quenching bowl. After a while, the fist-sized Tianxin stone was tempered and condensed to the size of an orange. But the color is even more beautiful, from grayish dark green to aurora-like translucent green. The texture is fully revealed, mysterious and beautiful. Shen Yizi fed the Tianxin stone to Tianzhou, who swallowed it unceremoniously, and a gorgeous green streak appeared on his body. She continued to temper, and all the tempered Tianxin stones were fed to Tianzhou, and it accepted all of them. There is a strong attitude of if you dare to feed me, I will swallow you. Finally, all the piles of Tianxin stones were fed, and Tianzhou also completed its preliminary evolution. The complete form after enlargement has changed from the original small boat to a ship about 10 meters long, with several separate rooms separated in the ship. Of course, it was completely empty inside, with no decorations whatsoever. She needs to purchase it herself. But what surprised her even more was that Tianzhou also restored its aviation function. In the future, it will not only support sailing on the water, but also travel in the air. Of course, the premise is that the fuel she provides is enough. With such a water and air vehicle, traveling will be much more convenient in the future. Looking at the few Tianxin stones left, Shen Yizi felt that he needed to get more this time to save them. In a moment, Shen Yizi appeared from mid-air. The whirlpool underneath was no longer there, and the river returned to calm. She took the water beads and submerged herself into the water, with Qi Jin leading the way. The target was the dragon's cave. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 284. Du family. He Buzzy rode to the gate and saw an elderly woman looking in front of the gate. He got off his horse and stepped forward to ask, "Madam, who are you looking for?" The woman was startled. I heard about Madame Du Shi, I used to be her maid, and I wanted to come and see her." What the woman said was a little incoherent, but her meaning was clearly expressed. He Buzzy smiled gently at her and said, "Come with me." He went up to knock on the door, and the person who opened the door was an old servant. All the servants in the house, Du Li, were let out, leaving only old man Du. A few years ago, when Mr. Du and his wife were still alive, Mr. Du worked in the Du family. Du Tang, the other servants in the house, changed several times, but he was the only one who stayed. Du Li considered that old man Du was old and had nowhere to go, and he followed Shen Yizi till Jiazhuang later. Someone was needed to look after the house here, so he kept old man Du behind. Uncle Du glanced at He Buzzy. "Who are you looking for?" He Buzzy was about to speak when the woman stepped forward excitedly. "Dubo, I am Sanyu, do you remember?" Uncle Du stared at her for a while and suddenly realized, "Oh, Sanyu, I remembered." He opened the door and let the two people in. In the house, Zhen Zhen accompanied Du Li to pack her luggage. Now that his daughter has returned to him, Du Li has fulfilled his wish and plans to leave with Shen Yizi as soon as possible to work for her. "Madam, young lady, the eldest son of the He family is here to visit." "Young master is here." Zhen Zhen immediately dropped what he was holding and ran out. Du Li said angrily, "This child." At this time, Mr. Du said again, "Madam, Sang Nu is here too." At this time, Du Li was no longer calm and hurried to the front hall. In the hall, San Yu guessed Zhenzin's identity as soon as she saw her face. "You are the young lady, right? You look exactly like the eldest lady when she was young." "I am the eldest lady's former maid, Sanyu." Du Li came out and heard these words. "Sanu. Big lady." This long-awaited reunion made both master and servant excited beyond words. The two people walked forward quickly and grabbed each other's hands. "Madam, it's great that you are still alive. When the poisonous woman said that you were seriously ill and refused to allow the slaves and others to come near to serve you, I was a little suspicious. Unfortunately, Kui Nu actually turned against the poisonous woman. She also helped her take charge of the family. When your funeral affairs are completed, the poisonous woman will sell all our servants. I also knew that Du Tang would never sell Sang Nu and others to a good place." Du Li held Sanyu's hand tightly. "Then how did you get here all these years?" Sanyu smiled reassuringly. "Don't worry, madam. My parents ransomed me back after they found out. Over the years, I have lived a pretty good life with the embroidery skills you taught me. After hearing about you, I thought come and see. She looked at Du Li's face that was full of traces of time and was filled with sadness. Madam, you have suffered a lot in these years. The high-spirited lady back then has now become bald early and is so thin that she loses her appearance. Du Li smiled calmly and hugged Zhen Zhen beside him. Now I have finally come to the end of my hardships. Thanks to Miss Shenyazi, if it weren't for her, I would still be locked in a dark room by Du Tang. How could I be so great? I must take revenge and take back the Du family. She really helped me get it back. Sangnu silently remembered the name Shenyazi in his heart. She really couldn't see He Buzzy being left alone and introduced her. Mom, this is the young master I told you. He was so kind to me. If it weren't for the master and his wife back then, I probably wouldn't be able to reunite with you now. Du Li has heard about this Mr. He countless times from Jensen's mouth in just one day. Not long ago, Du Yingying asked her to embroider the Guanyin picture as soon as possible to help her win the favor of the old lady of the He family and marry the eldest son of the He family. That was the first time that Du Yingying spoke softly in front of her, and even warned her several times without worry, telling her not to mess up. This shows how much she likes the eldest son of the He family. And when Zhen Zhen talked about him, she looked like a young girl with a full heart, and I am afraid that her heart was tied to him. She was still surprised that what Mr. He was like made Du Yingying, who had always been a high-minded person, want to marry him. Even the daughter she had just recognized would never leave his side. Now, looking at the handsome young man in front of her with a gentle demeanor, she finally understood. Intellectually, she knew that Mr. He was very kind to their mother and daughter, but emotionally, I am afraid that no mother could treat her daughter's sweetheart calmly. Du Li is no exception, so she can only act politely. She warmly asked He Buzzy to sit down. I should be the one to come and thank you first. If it hadn't been for your father, I might have. When she thought about that situation, she felt heart-piercing pain. He Buzzy hurriedly said, Auntie's words are serious. In that kind of situation, no one would do anything to save her. Thank you for taking care of Zhen Zhen over the years. My aunt is here to thank you. Du Li stood up and bowed deeply to He Buzzy. How can He Buzzy dare to accept it? He hurriedly supported her and said, Auntie, please get up quickly. It's really my parents who saved me. I don't dare to be unruly. Auntie must also know that I was bad at it in the past years, and I didn't recover until recently. You really took care of me a lot. I should be the one to thank you. Zhen Zhen stamped her feet. Mother, son, don't thank me. I'm hungry. Aren't you hungry? I'll make you something to eat right now. Seeing her briskly walking out of the hall, Du Li smiled helplessly. It's really like this. Where is the subtlety and restraint of a daughter's family? But as soon as she thought about it, she felt relieved. As long as you are truly safe and happy, that is enough. What else is important? When Shenyazi came up from the Qinglan River, it was already dark, so she simply practiced in space all night. I didn't return to Du's house until early the next morning. Du Li was relieved when he saw her. Shenyazi didn't come back all night last night, and she was worried all night, fearing that something would happen to her. Seeing the worry in her eyes, Shenyazi couldn't help but feel a little guilty. She had been alone for a long time and had never experienced the feeling of being waited for home by her elders, so she thought nothing of it. Miss Shen hasn't eaten yet, has she? Zhen Zhen, please sit with Miss Shen for a while, and your Aunt Sang and I will prepare breakfast. Without giving the two a chance to refuse, Du Li took Sanyu to the kitchen. Zhen Zhen looked at Shenyazi and asked, what did you do yesterday? Shenyazi half-truthfully said, I'm looking for treasure. Have you found it? Jensen's eyes lit up and he sat closer to her. Shenyazi nodded in a good mood and took out a pearl the size of a lychee and gave it to her. Adorable baby, The Miracle Doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 285. Zhen Zhen followed He Buzzy and saw a lot of good things. Pearl Dongju was not a rare thing in her eyes, but it was the first time she saw someone like Shen Yazi giving away a huge pearl so casually. Especially because the person being given the gift is still herself. Really give it to me, Zhen Zhen still couldn't believe it. No? Then I'll take it back. Shen Yazi pretended to take the pearl back. Zhen Zhen immediately rushed over and snatched the pearl, holding it in her hand and loving it. A pearl of this quality is worth hundreds of taels at least. As Zhen Zhen looked at the pearl, his perception of Shen Yazi became more complicated. It turned out that when she was sent away by the young master, she hated her very much. But now, not only did she save her mother, but she also helped her get to know her, which was a great kindness to their mother and daughter. How could she still justifiably hate her? Especially, she also cured the young master's leg. I really have to admit that I am very grateful to her. Forget it, for the sake of this pearl, she won't hate her anymore. Zhen Zhen happily put the pearl into his little purse. By the way, young master asked me to ask you, can you postpone it for one day and wait until tomorrow to leave Jinqing? He wants to finish the matter at hand and go till Jiazhuang with us then. Okay. Shen Yi knew that it was inevitable. Anyway, the sky boat could travel in the air at a very fast speed. Even if it was delayed for another day, it wouldn't be a big deal. With one extra day, Du Li can handle matters in Jinqing more calmly. She is not planning to sell Du House. Although this is her sad place, where she has been buried for more than 10 years and brought her countless pains, it also holds many unforgettable memories for her. From now on, when I come back to worship my parents and ancestors every year, I will also need a place to stay. So Du Zai remains as it is. Of course, she would not touch anything inside that had been used by Du Tang. She would clean them all out and give the useful ones to charity houses in the city. Yuguan is a relief station set up by the imperial court to specifically help the poor. Basically there is one in every county. Just throw away things you don't need. After clearing out all Du Tang's things, Du Li felt indescribably relaxed, and the whole house became brighter. The other one is Wengziu Pavilion. The Wengziu Pavilion that Du Li took over from Du's father was just a small embroidery shop. She spent all her efforts to make Wengziu Pavilion bigger step by step. Later it was stolen by Du Tang. The current Wengziu Pavilion is no longer what it was when it was in her hands. After Du Li got his embroidery back, he decided to hang the Wengziu Pavilion in Yahang and asked the people from Ya to help sell it as soon as possible. To this end, she increased her commission by 20%. Having money makes it easy to do things, and Wengziu Pavilion is in a good location. The most important thing is the famous signboard of Wengziu Pavilion. Sold out in less than a day's work. The rest was some land and shops, etc. Du Li sold part of it and donated the rest to the clan to support the education of the children of the clan and help the widows and lonely people in the clan. This move was certainly out of good intentions, but she also had her own selfish motives. She just hoped that the tribe would help her take care of her parents' graves for the sake of her donation of so much money and materials. Finally, Du Li took Du Zhenzhen. Zhenzhen was recorded in the genealogy and given the surname Du, to pay homage to her parents' graves. When he came back, he happened to run into Du Tang, Lu Ran and other criminals who were being escorted out of the city by officials. At this time, Du Tang was unkempt and his eyes were dim. How could he still have the same radiance as when he was Ms. Du a few days ago? Du Li was sitting in a spacious and elegant carriage, while Du Tang was in a crowded and narrow prison carriage. Two cars passed each other. Du Li looked at Du Tang calmly. Du Tang suddenly threw himself in front of the fence and shouted at the top of his lungs, "Sister, it's me who's sorry for you. It's me who made Yingying recognize you as your mother and made you willing to be driven by us. If you want to hate me, then hate me. All of this has nothing to do with Yingying. It's irrelevant. For the sake of her calling you mother for so many years, please let her go. Without saying a word, he started knocking, as if he was afraid that he would be rejected by Du Li if he knocked too slowly. Du Li did not agree or refuse, but calmly lowered the curtain. Du Tang looked at the carriage that was gradually going away, and his body suddenly became exhausted, as if his strength had been drained. After returning to Du's house, Du Li came to Du Yingying's yard. She has been staying in her room these past few days without taking a step out of the door. I actually ate the food delivered to my door. Du Li stood at the door and said to the other side, "Your mother has been escorted to serve in the north. I will leave tomorrow too. As for you, just take care of yourself." She didn't touch anything in Du Yingying's room, but according to Du Tang's doting and love for her daughter, she should have a lot of money and things in her hands. As long as she doesn't spend money recklessly, her life will be fine in the future. And she also said hello to the clan and asked the clan leader to take more care of her. As for any more, there will be none. As long as she thinks about Zhen Zhen being thrown into the Qinglan River by Du Tang at such a young age, regardless of her life or death, she can't be soft-hearted towards Du Yingying. Have everything been packed? Before setting off, Shen Yizi came to Du Li's yard. Everything is fine, but there are a lot of things. Du Li looked at the large and small bags piled up on the table, feeling a little embarrassed. Although she had tried to be as concise as possible, thinking that she was about to go to a completely unfamiliar place, she had to think more comprehensively. "I have a storage bag that can hold a lot of things. How about I help you pack it?" "Is that okay? Thank you so much." Shen Yizi laughed and said, "Sister Du, there is no need to be so polite to me." She flicked her hand on the table and everything on it disappeared. Looking at her hand, Du Li and Sanyu were both shocked that the monk's method was so miraculous. "Is there anything else you want to bring?" Shen Yizi asked again. Du Li hesitated for a moment, then went into the house and packed up a few packages with Sanyu. This trip was probably the most relaxing one Du Li has ever taken. He left the house empty-handed. He Buzzy and Du Zhenzhen were already waiting outside the door. Seeing Du Li coming out, Du Zhenzhen opened the carriage door curtain and waved to her, "Mom, come here quickly." Du Li took Sang Nu into the carriage. Sun Nu's parents have passed away, and she opened a small shop to make ends meet after becoming a widow. She has been comfortable living alone for these years. Learning that Du Li was going to follow Shen Yizi to do work for her, Sanyu thought about it and decided to go too. She was alone and had never seen the end of her life. Now there is nothing wrong with following my wife to have some adventure elsewhere. Thinking of her past experiences with the eldest lady, she felt as if there was hope for her life again. After Du Li learned of her wishes, he had no choice but to do whatever he wanted. The driver was He Buzzy's bodyguard He Yang, who had stayed in Jiazhuang for a while before. He Buzzy and Shen Yizi rode in front to clear the way. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 286. The group soon arrived at the Qinglan River. Shen Yizi took out the sky boat and threw it on the river. When the boat, which was originally no bigger than a palm, landed on the water, it was already more than 10 meters long. This scene not only shocked Du Li and Sang Nu, but also He Buzzy and the others were quite shocked. The carriage Shen Yizi took into the space, and the horse rushed directly to the ship. Several people entered the cabin. After the matter was done, there was no need to disguise himself anymore. Shen Yizi walked into the room and removed the disguise mask. When he came out again, he had restored his original appearance. He Buzzy and the other three already knew her identity and had no special reaction when they saw her. Du Li and Sanyu, on the other hand, were shocked. How come someone changed just after entering? Shen Yizi smiled apologetically at Du Li. Sister Du, I disguised myself for convenience. Now this is my true appearance. I hope you don't mind. Looking at the face in front of her that is the color of spring snow, with snow-skinned skin, how could Du Li care? Miss Shen's face is a bit arrogant, she should be more careful outside. The Tianzhou was already very fast, but Shen Yizi also put a small magic talisman on the boat, making it fly even faster. Of course, it is very fast, but it is extremely stable. There is no bump in the cabin, as if the ship has not moved. When I looked outside, the surrounding scene was completely different. In less than half a day, the boat arrived at the boundary of Langcheng. For the rest of the journey, Shen Yizi converted Tianzhou into flight mode. With a swish sound, the sky boat rushed out. Within a few minutes, they arrived over Jiazhuang. Shen Yizi controlled the Tianzhou to slow down and circle in the air, inspecting the current progress. The main part of Minjiao Villa, the outer water buildings, the hunting ground, and the horse farm have all been completed, and only some finishing work is left. 2 embroidered buildings, Yunzhang Pavilion, Jinyi Pavilion, Minjiao Restaurant, and Minjiao Inn have also been completed. AMU is now leading people to build public facilities such as parking lots, toilets, and garbage dumps. The monk used the earth wall technique, and a high wall stood on the ground. Then he used the stone armor talisman, and the earth wall was instantly covered with a layer of stone armor, which was strong and solid. The workers and the monks already cooperated very well. When the monks' work was completed, they quickly stepped forward to carry out more detailed work. After the main building was built, a wide and smooth road spread out from the gate with the help of magic. On both sides of the road, wood-type monks spawned flowers, plants, and trees, which were luxuriant. A clean, tidy, and beautiful parking lot was built. The speed is so fast that it's like pressing a shortcut key. No wonder she has only been out for a few days and the progress of the project has accelerated so much. Even Shen Yizi was amazed, let alone the others. We have only been away for a few months, how come Jiazhuang has changed so much? Zhen Zhen sighed. Du Li and Sanyu felt as if they had entered another world. Tianzhou was so arrogant in the sky that it naturally attracted the attention of the people below. Look, why is there a boat in the sky? Everyone looked up. Ordinary people would find it unbelievable when they see this scene. After all, in their understanding, the only ones that can fly into the sky are birds. When will boats traveling on water be able to fly into the sky? But monks like Xiaoming are not so fussy, but are on infinite alert. Those who can afford flying magical weapons must not be ordinary people. Such people come to Jiazhuang and circle around in a big circle like they are showing off their power. What do they want to do? Seeing the commotion caused by the spaceship, Shen Yizi controlled the sky boat to slowly descend and stopped in front of Yunzhang Pavilion. Xiaoming led people around and was about to shout inside when she saw Shen Yizi walking out. Several more people came out shortly afterwards. Seeing such a huge formation, Sanyu couldn't help but grab Du Li's arm. Du Li patted her hand to comfort her, but in fact she felt very unsure. Shen Yizi waved to Xiaoming and others casually, "What are you doing here? Is there anything else to do? Let's all disperse. Don't scare the guests I invited back." This was of course said in a joking tone. The moment he saw Shen Yizi get off the ship, Xiaoming's crisis was automatically relieved, but now, he became very interested in the spaceship. He hasn't been on a spaceship yet. He drove away a bunch of people under his command and walked over. "Girl, can I also experience this spaceship?" Shen Yizi said generously, "Okay, but you have to pay 10 taels of silver per play. 12 taels of silver count as a ball in front of Tianzhou." Xia Meditation agreed without even thinking about it. However, when he reached for his pocket, he found that he was now extremely poor and had not a single copper. Xiaoming licked her face and asked, "Girl, can I do it on credit?" Shen Yizi raised his eyebrows and rejected him ruthlessly. But how could Xiaoming be stumped by these 10 taels of silver? He ran over to find some friends to collect 10 taels of silver, and soon came back and handed the money to Shen Yizi. After receiving the money, Shen Yizi opened the authority to Xiaoming, allowing him to temporarily control Tianzhou, and then warned, only half a quarter of an hour. Thank you, girl. Xiaoming jumped onto the deck excitedly, looking around and touching it, like a little boy who got a new toy. Others were reluctant to leave, so when they saw this, they hurriedly came over, pleading with Shen Yizi, girl, I want to go up too, I'll pay. Girl, and I. Shen Yizi raised his hand to suppress everyone's voices. This spaceship can only carry 10 people at a time. You have to pay 10 taels of silver for one ride, and the time is half a quarter of an hour. If you want to sit, line up and give the money to AMU, that's it. Tianzhou was burning spirit stones all the time when it was in flight mode, so Shen Yizi naturally had no reason to give everyone his seat in vain. If you refuse, it will seem too inhumane. If you agree, how can so many people take their turn? So if you want to sit, just pay. 12 taels of silver is quite a lot in this era. The purchasing power of a copper plate is about the same as that of a modern dollar. 1 tael of silver is equivalent to 1,000 copper plates, and 10 taels is equivalent to 10,000 yuan. I believe there are only a few people who are willing to spend 10,000 yuan just to experience riding a spaceship. But she obviously underestimated the attraction of the spaceship to everyone. As soon as she finished speaking, everyone rushed to AMU and rushed to pay him. Looking at that scene, Shen Yizi suddenly felt that he seemed to have discovered another way to make money. When Minjia Villa opens and there are more people here, she may be able to start a spaceship project. No, not just a spaceship project, but also an amusement park. By then, she may be able to make a lot of money just from the tickets. Suppressing this thought, Shen Yizi said to He Buzzy, do you still remember where my home is? You can go there by yourself. I will take Sister Du to settle down first. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 287. He Buzzy smiled and said, you don't have to worry about me. I want to walk around first to see what changes there are in Zhuangzi. I'll go back when it's time to eat. That's okay. Du Zhenzhen looked at He Buzzy and then at her mother, feeling a little embarrassed. Du Li poked her forehead with his finger and said with a smile, follow me, don't run around. Oh, Du Zhenzhen looked away from his young master. Shen Yizi first took Du Li and others to the employee community behind Yun's Hang Pavilion. This was something she had specifically asked to build. There will definitely be more and more people working for her in the future. She has to solve the accommodation problem for her employees, right? At present, there are only 2 3-story buildings built in the employee community, one for women and one for men. In addition, there are several independent small courtyards, which are equivalent to single-family villas, which are considered as benefits for senior managers. The greening in the community is very good, and there are also artificially dug streams and lakes, which provide beautiful scenery. Sister Du, which one do you like? Shen Yizi took Du Li and others around the villa area. It's first come, first served. Du Li looked at her daughter, what do you really think? Her daughter will definitely live with her in the future. It doesn't matter to her. The main thing is to see where she really wants to live. Du Zhenzhen thinks that several small courtyards are quite good, but what I like the most is. Just choose the one not far from the lake. Open the window, you can see the lake in front, the mountains behind, lush forests and bamboos on the left and right, the yard is full of flowers, and the scenery is not ordinary. What's more, this small courtyard also has a nice name, Changleju. Shen Yizi took out Du Li's gift and said, the room is still very empty. If you need anything, Sister Du, please make a list and I'll have someone deliver it to you. Leaving Du Li and others to familiarize themselves with their new home, Shen Yizi returned to his own home. As soon as she reached the door of her house, Wang Wang came out to greet her, circling her and sticking out her tongue. Shen Yizi rubbed its head and fed it a spirit beast pill. Under the influence of the spiritual beast pill, Wang Wang has transformed into a smart and clever dog. In local dialect, it is very spiritual. As usual, Kan San is the only one at home. Gan Wu went to invite Mr. Bao and he hasn't come back yet. Mr. Luo doesn't know whether he went for a walk or to visit friends. Shen Yizi went to the sink to wash his hands. When Kan San came up to meet her, he took out a short sword and gave it to her. I brought you a gift, do you like it? Kan San took out his dagger and played with it, with a look of joy in his eyes. I like it, thank you girl. After entering the small building, Shen Yizi released King Bao and Nian Nian at their request. Although there was no shortage of anything in the space, it was still less popular. In comparison, they still preferred to be outside with their friends. They play together. And they got a lot of new toys, and they can't wait to show them off to their friends. Seeing the two little guys running out like a race, she had to chase after them and yelled, "Run slowly. Be careful and fall dash." As soon as the words came out of his mouth, Qingbao fell down. But he was not afraid of the pain. He got up like a normal person and continued running. Shen Yizi shook his head, forget it, the boy's skin is nothing. It's better than crying like an unweaned child all the time. At noon, Shen Yizi made a feast to welcome Du Li and others. After the banquet, Shen Yizi signed a 5-year contract with Du Li. During these 5 years, Du Li would be employed by her. After 5 years, Du Li could stay as she pleased. Du Li initially disagreed and wanted to sell herself directly to Shen Yizi as a slave. After all, if it weren't for her, she might still be enslaved by Du Tang in that dark room. But Shen Yizi disagreed. She had no intention of enslaving people for the rest of their lives. After negotiation, the employment period was finally set at 5 years. As soon as the contract was signed, Du Li finally settled down in Jiazhuang. After returning, she began to get involved in preparations for the opening of Yunzhang Pavilion and Jinyi Pavilion. Yunzhang Pavilion and Jinyi Pavilion are twin buildings connected by a corridor. Yunzhang Pavilion sells women's clothing, while Jinyi Pavilion sells men's clothing. Du Li is the general manager of the two stores. Now, both buildings are still quite empty, so it's up to her how to arrange them. As for the subsequent recruitment of store clerks, Shen Yizi left all the matters to Du Li, giving her enough autonomy. In addition, she also gave her a design album of clothes. All the above are drawn by her, combining modern clothing elements and characteristics of this era. Of course, she is not a professional fashion designer and cannot draw perfection, but I believe these pictures will definitely give Du Li some inspiration. After Du Li got the album, he flipped through it and immediately felt like he had found a treasure, so he took the time to study it. Shen Yizi walked around the entire villa, conducted on-site inspections, and put forward some opinions from time to time. By the way, Xiao-san, you can find someone to customize some half-human high wooden barrels, paint them with green paint, write the word trash can on them, and then add a small painting of throwing garbage on them. The painting is simple. To put it bluntly, people will know at a glance that this bucket is used to throw garbage. After it's done, put one at regular intervals on the roadside and publicize it to everyone to let them know that this bucket will be used exclusively for throwing garbage. Then recruit some people to clean these trash cans every day. As well as the garbage on the road, all the garbage will be transported to the garbage dump, making everything clean and comfortable. Xiao-san responded. After completing some details, Shen Yizi stepped into the interior of Minjia Villa. The first stop is the piano room. The piano room is very elegantly decorated, very much in line with the style of a master hermit. Just a few pianos missing. Shenyazi walked past the empty piano case and lightly brushed his hand on it, and a piece of guqin appeared on it. Haozhong, Raoyang, Green Qi, Jiaowei, Juxiao, Fengwei. Zhangkuang's unique guqin from ancient times to the present appeared in batches like this. These harps were all borrowed by Shenyazi from Nian Nian. Needless to say, Nian Nian naturally inherited it from Emperor Li. Shenyazi suspected that Emperor Li, the ancestor of the phoenix, had a collecting habit. There was everything in the palace. Of course, everything was the best of the best, and the average old man would probably not like it. In Fenki Palace, these harps have been silent for many years. Instead of letting them continue to lie and eat ashes, it is better to take them out and let those who love harps feast their eyes. In addition to the guqin, she also took out musical instruments such as zither, flute, xiao, suan, pipa, chimes and other instruments to fill the music rooms. After that, Shenyazi went to the chess room, study room, painting studio, museum, and placed all the treasures he had prepared. After making these preparations, Shenyazi came to the gate, took out a mirror and hung it under the plaque. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 288. This mirror, named Tianjian, was bought from a grocery store for a total of 80,000 points. The function is to identify a person's merits and demerits. Those who are pure in heart, those who possess merit and virtue, those whose skills are close to the Tao. These three types of people can enter Minjia Villa for free. This standard was not set arbitrarily by her. The first two types of people are the ones she respects and loves, and she hopes there are more people like them around her. The third type is what she admires, and she hopes that more and more people with unique skills will come. These three types of people are welcomed by her. They are like light and flame, attracting more people to flock to her. Ordinary people need to pay a huge entry fee to enter. As for the specific price, we'll have to decide at that time. It won't be cheap anyway. As for those who are extremely evil and have no conscience, don't even think about setting foot in her Minjia villa. The quality of a person can be identified through a heavenly mirror, and a prop is also needed to identify whether he or she has special skills. Shenyazi searched around in the grocery store and found an item that met the requirements, Daozhong. This thing is also not cheap, but in order to gain popularity, this money cannot be saved. Fortunately, the previous world bead bought her 2 million points, of which 1.5 million had already been spent by her, all converted into land. She doesn't even know how big her space is now. In order to prevent the land from being abandoned, she specially exchanged 2 puppets, Xiao Wu and Xiao Lu, to help her take care of it. The remaining 500,000 will be used as backup. In this moment, nearly a quarter of the time was gone, and Shenyazi felt a pain in his body. But I can't bear to let the child catch the wolf. With these props, we can attract more people to come, right? Popularity represents consumers, wealth, merit, and business. With these, merits and treasures will come to her door in a steady stream, instead of trying her luck all over the world to find them. Let's get down to business. Tao bells are something like this that are created to identify a person's skill level. Only superb skills can make the bell ring. The higher the skill, the more sounds it will ring. On the other hand, if the Taoist bell does not ring, it means that the person's skill is not perfect enough. In order to house the Taoist bell, Shenyazi had a pavilion built outside the gate of the villa. The pavilion was named Dao Pavilion. From now on, this will be a place specifically for visitors to show off their skills. I believe that once the reputation of Minjia Villa spreads, there will be an endless stream of artists from all over the country who come to preach. When the bell rings, it becomes famous all over the world. If the bell does not ring, it may make people laugh. Finally, Shenyazi placed 2 stone lions in front of the door. These stone lions are naturally not ordinary objects, but 2 puppets, used to guard the house. Once an evildoer approaches, the stone lion will sense it and execute the evildoer on the spot. The villa has been built, and the basic functional buildings are in place. It is ready to start advertising the world. But before that, there is still a problem that needs to be solved. That is, security. When there are too many people, accidents are likely to happen, so how can we reduce the number of security personnel? First of all, you need at least one big boss who can intimidate all parties, so that those who come will not dare to act rashly. The candidate Shen Yizi is already available. He has the same master, but he usually keeps a low profile. According to him, he was an old man selling wontons before and has no reputation in the outside world. As the saying goes, a person's reputation reflects the shadow of his tree. If you are not famous, don't expect others to be afraid of you. Even if you have strength, others don't know it. Is it possible that when you meet someone, you show off in front of others and make others feel jealous? This is obviously unrealistic. So there is also a need for someone who can control the situation. This person, except for Master Chang Feng, has no other ideas. Master Chang Feng is highly respected, powerful and honorable. No matter who comes, everyone must treat him respectfully. It is perfect as a mascot for a town house. Shen Yizi went to Yunqian Temple in person with a bunch of food. When she told her request, Master Chang Feng agreed without saying a word. Follow her till Jiazhuang and live in Minjia Villa as an experience user. If you are dissatisfied with anything, just raise it and I will make improvements immediately. Chang Feng looked around and nodded repeatedly. Okay, girls Hizzy, go ahead and do your work. If I have any opinions, I will tell you. With the two big bosses in charge in place, Shen Yizi spent another 100,000 points to buy a dragnet array and deployed it around Jiazhuang, covering the entire Jiazhuang and Minjia Villa. This formation integrates defense, detection, and attack, and is considered to be the most cost-effective among all types of formations. Defense: once an attack comes, whether it is in the sky or underground, the formation can immediately open a defensive barrier to block the attack. This is inspired by the previous trip back on a flying boat. Fortunately, the flying boat is hers. If someone else were to use the flying boat to attack indiscriminately below, she would not be able to save them, so it was better to take precautions. Don't be afraid of 10,000, just be afraid of the unexpected. It's always right to be more careful. After all, there are too many treasures in the villa and they are too eye-catching. Let alone ordinary people, even those monks and strangers would probably be jealous. Detection: as the person who controls the entire formation, she can immediately detect anything that happens within the area covered by the formation. It is equivalent to opening the perspective of God. Attack: if the enemy is causing trouble inside the formation, it will be easier. The dense Skynet will teach him how to behave. The Skynet can be used to catch or kill, it all depends on the mood of her master. In addition, the village also needs guards to conduct patrols and handle some personnel disputes, such as trivial things like sneaking around and fighting. There is no need for big bosses and formations to come forward to deal with this kind of matter. At this time, she, the master, needs to come forward to deal with it. AMU and others have been practicing for too short a time, and many people are still at the stage of reading, so Shen Yizi left this matter to Xiaoming. As the captain, his men were divided into two teams and patrolled day and night. In addition, there are the banyan spirit Xiaorong who guards the entrance of the village, the fairy who takes root in the medicine garden, and the little frog who looks low-key and weak but is actually ferocious. These are her eyes and ears. Especially the small banyan tree. Although it stands at the entrance of the village, its root system is almost all over the village. In any area where the root system is involved, no movement can escape its perception. And it also has an innate skill, the ability to communicate with vegetation. Shen Yizi put the carp spirit red brocade and mirage clams into Tianzhou Lake, asking them to always pay attention to the movements in the water. With security measures laid out layer by layer in the sky, on land, and underwater, Shen Yizi felt that basically nothing was missed. The next thing to do is to continue construction and improve the functions of Minjia Villa. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 289. At night, Shen Yizi quietly took a trip to the Blue Tears Valley. This name comes from the pure and clear blue lake in the valley. She placed the large amusement park in a suitable location. In this way, there are entertainment facilities such as racecourses, polo fields, and amusement parks in this valley. How did the amusement park come about? Shen Yizi didn't need to explain to the people below. In their eyes, her master is mysterious and powerful. As for whether it will attract suspicion and covetousness from the outside world, if the upper limit of the realm of this world is Jindan, nascent soul, etc., she may need to keep a low profile and develop some obscenely things, but that is not the case. The upper limit of strength here is the perfection of chi refining. There may be very few who can reach the foundation building, but once the foundation building monks take action, they will be discovered and suppressed by the way of heaven. So, Shen Yizi now basically does not need to pay attention to the outside world. Her crisis does not come from others, but from space. She doesn't have much time left. Once she fails to collect all the merit points, what awaits her is the fate of being wiped out. So she doesn't mind being high profile, or even afraid of not being high profile enough. It is best to attract the attention of everyone in the world in the shortest possible time. Asterisk. There is a mountain range 100 miles away from the imperial capital, called Qipping Mountain. The mountains are continuous, the sky is green and the mountains are green, and the peaks stand together, making it magnificent and beautiful. There is a peak in the mountain called Yuexia Peak. There is a waterfall to the east with a rapid torrent. There is a Jiquan well under the waterfall. As the name suggests, the well is formed by the gathering of 9 natural springs. There is a stone bed beside the well, which is wide and smooth and can accommodate 100 or 10 people lying on it at the same time. On top of the stone bed is a natural building made of stone. The mountains here are so majestic and there are no birds and animals that even the most skilled herb gatherers dare not set foot there. However, at this moment, a faint ethereal piano sound came from the building. There is actually someone playing the piano inside. The perspective gradually cuts to the building, where a man with disheveled hair, bare feet, and an open robe is sitting by the window, with a piano on his lap, and the sound of the piano comes from under his fingers. His feet were hanging directly from the window. The clouds and fog outside were within reach. If he was not careful, he would fall down and his body would be wiped out. However, this man didn't care at all and only focused on stroking the piano under his hand. A golden monkey hung between the stone walls, listening to the music of his piano, with a look of intoxication on his face. In the spring water below, groups of fish floated quietly on the water, motionless. What's even more amazing is that there are many creatures lying on the shore, including tigers, wolves, deer, snakes, rabbits. They are natural enemies, but at this moment, they all have only one identity, and that is, listeners of the music. Those who don't know the inside story will definitely marvel at the magic of the sound of the piano when they see this scene. It can actually make these wild and untamable beasts immersed in it, and make them temporarily give up their hunting instincts. The skill of the person playing the piano is really high to a certain level. However, if you look closely, you will find that the eyes of these beasts are almost dull. They are already filled with inward flow. It's not that they are human enough to listen to the music, the reason why they lie here motionless is because they are completely forced. The following is from the Confession of Tiger, the king of the mountains and forests. When the guy who played the piano first came, he was happy for a while, and finally someone came to deliver food to his door. However, he soon realized how naive he was. One day, the man was playing the piano on a big rock by the water, and he played it very energetically. He thought to himself that his good opportunity had come. He secretly approached the past, and the result was, the man knocked it out with a backhand slap. When it woke up, it found that its limbs were tied up. It originally thought that it was going to be finished, but unexpectedly, he had no intention of killing itself, and just kept playing the piano in its ear. Play it in the morning and play it in the evening. It made it suspect that Hushin was alive. I really want to become a deaf tiger from now on. The key thing is that he not only played it, but actually asked it how he played it. White tiger, haha, as a tiger, what reaction do you want me to give? When it finally came to its senses and made an intoxicated expression, the human finally let it go. But do you think this is the end? Not at all. It is also required to come to him as an audience every day. If it does not come, its beautiful and majestic fur will leave you. In order to survive, King Tiger chose to follow his heart. The other listeners had similar experiences. Everyone hates the guy playing the piano with all their teeth, but even if they unite, they can't defeat him. This is the truth why they come here to report obediently every day and receive the edification of the music. After finishing the song, the lingering sound echoed endlessly in the empty mountain. Lu Jingran looked at the well-behaved and honest audience below and nodded with satisfaction. It's true that he plays it in their ears every day. Facts have proved that everything has animism. It is very correct. Didn't he use the music to civilize those wild beasts? When Lu Jingran was feeling complacent, a puppet bird flew silently in front of him and spoke human words. Master Jingran, there is your package, please check it. Lu Jingran, what the hell? The belly of the puppet bird opened automatically, and a boxy package was pushed out. He has been hiding in this nook and cranny. Who is so powerful as to find out where he is? And ask the puppet bird to send something over? Lu Jingran felt curious and reached out to take it. After confirming that there was no trap set in the package, he opened it. Inside is a thick and exquisitely carved Huanghuali wooden box. In the box lies a low-key and luxurious invitation and a thin booklet. Taoist Jingran, please forgive me for disturbing you. Minjia Villa will be opened on the first day of October, and you are sincerely invited to attend the opening ceremony. The piano room in the village has several famous ancient harps such as Green Qi, Juxiao, and Fengwei, as well as lost harps. Yu Jiao Jiao, Pat Sushita Wind, Phoenix Journey, etc. are included in the box as an appendix to show our sincerity. Lu Jingran opened the post and saw this paragraph. The signature is signed by Shen Yazi, the owner of Minjia Villa in Langcheng, Hezu Prefecture, Fenjia Domain. Shen Yazi? Minjia Villa? Never heard of it? As a qualified Gukhan fan, he is very familiar with famous Gukhan names such as Luki and Fengwei. This Shen Yazi actually said that she had all these long-lost Gukhan and piano scores. Oh, how arrogant and ignorant. If nothing else, Fengwei's harp was a treasure of the previous royal family. It is said that it was made by the last emperor who was addicted to pleasure. Decades ago, when the Daifeng dynasty was destroyed, all the treasures stored in the palace warehouse were missing. Emperor Taizhi dug up the entire palace 3 feet into the ground, but could not find a single relic from the previous dynasty. Finally, we can only let it go. Things that even Taizhi could not find were obtained by an unknown village owner? Has the world changed too quickly, or has he been living in seclusion in the mountains for a long time and lost touch with the outside world? Lu Jingran threw the post back into the box, picked up the box and threw it out the window. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 290. The music score in the box was blown open by the wind. Lu Jingran glanced at it inadvertently, and his eyes suddenly became fixed. This is. However, when he wanted to take a closer look, the music score had been blown away by the wind and was blown to no one knows where. Lu Jingran thought to himself that after reading all the music scores in the world, there was no music in the world that he could not play, except for those that had long been lost. However, from the sudden glance just now, he was very sure that he had never seen the music score. So, is it possible that what Shen Yizi said is true? Aware of this, Lu Jing then regretted, why was he so impulsive just now? I don't know if I can find the music score again. Monkey, hurry up, help me get my things back, Lu Jingran said to the little monkey. Monkeys are very understanding of human nature, but because they are so understanding of human nature, they actually knew how to take advantage of him, shouting and gesticulating at him, and the target was clearly the gourd hanging on his waist. That gourd was one he picked out at a glance when he passed by the yard of a house and saw a row of gourds hanging under the eaves. This gourd is not a natural treasure, it was raised by ordinary farmers, but it has a uniform color, the navel at the bottom is small and straight, and the shape is round and cued. After buying it from the farmer, he used it as a wine vessel, filled it with wine, hung the gourd around his waist, and took it out to play with when he had nothing to do. Now that decades have passed, the gourd has been played with by him and its surface is oily, as if it is coated with a layer of starch. Of course, what the monkey is interested in is not the gourd, but the wine in the gourd. It is not easy to get a sip of wine in these deep mountains and forests, so Lu Jingran is not very willing to drink it on weekdays, but compared with wine, he is still more obsessed with the piano. In order to retrieve the music score, he had no choice but to leave the wine house. He took off the gourd from his waist and stuffed it into the monkey's arms, just one sip. After you drink it, help me get it back quickly. The monkey nodded hurriedly, but unfortunately its mouth was completely different from what Lu Jingran understood. It pulled off the stopper of the gourd, pointed the mouth of the gourd at the open mouth, and poured the wine directly and boldly into it. One bite and the gourd is empty. Lu Jingran. Fortunately, the monkey was also quite trustworthy. After drinking the wine, he burped, threw the gourd back to him, turned around and jumped out of the window. You must know that this is halfway up the mountain, and it is thousands of meters away from the bottom. Wouldn't the monkey's body be completely dead after this jump? However, Lu Jingran did not show the slightest concern. Without him, he has seen the ability of monkeys to climb and jump between mountain walls. Anyone may fall, but it will not. Sure enough, after falling dozens of meters, the monkey nimbly grabbed the vines between the mountain walls and swung away. While waiting, Lu Jingran was thinking about the piano score. He didn't even think about playing the piano and kept looking down. Unfortunately, there was a cloud and mist underneath, and I couldn't see anything clearly. About half an hour later, the monkey came back with something in his mouth. Lu Jingran snatched it away. However, what disappointed him was that the monkey's things were found for him, but the music score had been wet and torn into pieces. The writing on it is also blurred. Lu Jingran fell to the ground and hit his chest several times. He regretted it. Wait a minute, it doesn't matter if this music score is destroyed, Shen Yizi must have the original there. Minjia Villa will open on the first day of October, right? What day is it today? It seems like there are only a few days left. Lu Jingran stood up immediately, tidied up briefly, and then went down the mountain to the address posted on the invitation. As a Qin sage and a leader in the Gukhan world, I don't know how many people want to become Lu Jingran's teacher every year. Some of them are sincere, and some have ulterior motives. Sincerely, I love the piano and want to learn more advanced piano skills. Those who have other purposes may be for the political resources behind them, or they may be for gaining a good reputation through them. But no matter what their purpose, these people paid special attention to Lu Jingran. Almost the moment he came down the mountain and appeared on the official road, many people got the news. They were naturally curious about Lu Jingran's sudden descent from the mountain, and followed him one after another. Unable to follow, he also sent his servants to inquire about where the Qin Sheng was going. At the same time, in the imperial capital, Qiushui Pavilion, Yu Linglong, the top performer in both singing and dancing, also received an invitation. The pipa master of Zhangchunwu is Li Haitang, the master of jade carving is Wen Daiming, and the master of perfumery is Chu Bai Tao. In addition to sending invitations to Lu Jingran, the piano sage, Shen Yizi also sent invitations to great masters from chess, calligraphy, painting, dance, music, medicine, and other fields. The situation when they received the invitation was much the same as Lu Jingran's. The things mentioned in the post are largely something they cannot refuse. Those who can reach the top in a field are more or less obsessed with it. For example, Lu Jingran has been single for more than 40 years in order to play the piano. In his eyes, his beloved Qin is his wife. In order to be with Qin, he did not hesitate to live in seclusion in the mountains and live a life that ordinary people thought was poor. In order to improve his piano skills, he could travel thousands of miles to learn from his teachers. In order to collect a long-lost piano score, he did not hesitate to spend all his money and property. How could such an idiot not achieve great success on the piano? Lu Jingran is like this, and others like Yu Linglong, Li Haitang, and Wen Daiming are also like this. These people are very likely to rush to Minjia Villa for the things mentioned in the invitation. Shen Yizi was also aware of this, so he used this trick to seduce them. The invitations have been sent out, but they are all scattered across the country, and some are even in other countries. The distances are relatively far away. How can we ensure that they arrive at Ljiazhuang smoothly on the first day of October? For this reason, Shen Yizi planned to divide his troops into 3 groups. Along the way was Xiaming. She lent him the sky boat and asked him to pick up those donnas who had received the invitation and were willing to come. He was also given a lot of talismans to help him cope with emergencies. At the same time, he also gave him the little frog. It's not that he's afraid that Xiaming will run away with Tianzhou and let Zioa supervise him. Not to mention that Xiaming was imprinted with divine consciousness by her, no matter how far he ran, she could only think of killing him. Let's talk about Tianzhou. He is determined to recognize Qingbao as his master. Xiaming could only control it temporarily. If he ran away with it, it would turn around and run back without him. So Shen Yizi has no worries about this at all. Just afraid that Xiaming might encounter a strong enemy, and having a little frog by his side would help him take care of him. The second road is Luo Yao Yao. He was reluctant at first. Of course, his reluctance was just to get benefits from Shen Yizi. After she agreed to various conditions, he happily stepped onto the sun-quenching bowl she gave him and flew away in a flash.